Okay, mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Making sure before we get started. Hey, everybody. Let's see what we got going on here. Um, okay, thank you, Elisa. I see you. Let me get my screen together. All right. Okay. So first, let me set the tone. I'm coming in with a humble opinion, not believing I'm just right about anything. I just have a humble opinion about this, and I'm going to have an opinion throughout this whole thing, whether it's dismissed, a settlement, actually goes to trial, whatever it is. I just have my own opinion, and we're here to just kind of talk about it. And you know what the crazy sucky part is? I don't even like Brit. I don't even like her. It's the fact that I looked up her lawyer and the reason they're suing, and I'm like, I mean, there's a case there. There is, in my opinion, there is. But it is so crazy they have to be on this side talking about this. And I do believe she came on gunning for Kenya, and kind of no pun intended, but pun intended on that one. And I believe she had ill intentions. I believe she is dishonest on a lot of things. I just believe her lawyer has a great legal strategy, but I don't really care for her as a person. So hopefully you take that knowing I don't even like her, and I'm still over here just trying to, make some points of what I'm seeing what so far. But hey, Queen Liz, Mama V, Baby Peaches, More Show, Elisa Triplet, Aunt Natty. All right. So what we're gonna do first is we need to hear what Don Juan said. The only thing I could find, and shout out to the person in the comments that said, hey, Don Juan actually talked about Bravo's contracts and that he doesn't think Brit Eady can sue. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went to go look for it, and I found the clip, but I see that he's talking in front of a red background for a while, and I wish I could see the full thing just in case I'm missing anything else out of context. But I'm gonna play the short that I have, and I'll link the link to the short in my description box to credit the original source that posted it. So first, let's listen to Don Juan, and I'm gonna come back with my thoughts, and then we're gonna do a little bit of a opinion and breakdown, just a little bit. So let's start with Don Juan and what he had to say.
They can say that something happened, but Kenya is not an employee of Bravo. She works for the network also, but she's an independent contractor. She's not employed. She doesn't clock in any of those things for Bravo. So she is independently working also. They also will note in your agreement, I think you give up you give up rights to even like moral rights. Certain things that happen, like you sign an indemnity clause that basically says that, hey, I'm going to give up certain rights for you to film me in certain places, for you to use it out of context, for these things to happen. And I'm going to give up certain rights, which could be even my moral rights in this instance. So if I'm not mistaken, I have not seen her contract, but what usually happen, you give up those kind of rights. And so she gave up certain rights by being on this show. So when Kenya and her got into that, her argument probably to Bravo was a hostile environment. What they did when they found out about the situation was the right human resource type of thing. Let me cut ties with this person because they created something hostile. If what you would or what you might feel is hostile, even though it could be said that you talking about fighting the young lady was hostile. So both of you actually did something that could be considered hostile. They can say that something happened.
Okay, it just looped. Okay, so I have a few things that I had written down before I started my live because I was like, let me get my thoughts together. So there's a few things. Okay, yes. First of all, I believe they're Kenya, all the reality people, they're probably signed more to Truly Original than Bravo, and they are usually considered independent contractors. But just like the lawsuit that was against Netflix for the people that were considered independent contractors, they still had a really good fight on them because it's like you are saying that, but then you are controlling people's time and all this stuff. And there's been a fight a while for, a union for reality TV stars. There's also been what is truly an independent contractor. So that legal battle still continues, but there was a lot of ground made with the one against Kinetic and Netflix for how they were treating people, the hours they kept, the money they received, everything. So just because, to me, something has not changed yet does not mean it will not change in the future. So yes, strong foundation. They are independent contractors. They're not actually employees, but that does not prevent someone from saying, I still feel like I was wrong. I feel like some of these things happened outside of this contract or what is legal to happen to me, and I'm going to still fight for it, whether I'm considered an independent contractor or not. Although the wording in the lawsuit is employee, 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 I want to know where her lawyer's going with that, because if you saw us look up his background, he, as I said, he's not an ambulance chaser. He's not an ambulance chaser. This man has an extensive background in New York law. He has fought for people against the neo-Nazis from Charlottesville. He has helped prisoners get better access to their lawyers. He has defended, or he has represented whistleblowers. He has represented companies against whistleblowers. He's not light work, is all I'm saying. And I don't think he'd waste his time on something frivolous if he didn't think there was a good chance of either at least settlement, if not winning something. I agree with Don Juan that Brit did give up certain rights. She did. She actually gave up the right, most likely, to defamation. And yes, she did also put defamation in her lawsuit, but I do believe she gave up the right to defamation because you are saying you allow them to depict you in basically whatever light they choose to. Basically, they can give you a bad edit, they can do all those things, which means it's going to be defamation galore when they get that permission. So that, I believe Don Juan is correct. Defamation is probably not gonna fly. I'm with him on that one. Hostile work environment. Some of these things, two wrongs don't make a right. So Kenya had a hostile work environment with Brit threatening her with the pow pow, and Brit also may have had a hostile work environment with what Kenya did. So Kenya May can come back later if she so chooses to have her own lawsuit. It doesn't mean that Brit doesn't have a lawsuit just because there was also wrong done to Kenya. That just means maybe Kenya can also seek some type of retribution as well. But I don't think it cancels. It's not like a one for one cancel out, in my opinion, in civil lawsuits. Um, so this is where I'm working my way to, because this is so interesting to me. This is where I believe most people are coming from, where Elisa's coming from. And honestly, it's been tried and true that most of the times the production companies and the networks are going to have their stuff locked down. So that I get. And this is why we're here talking about it. Elisa said, I'm sure that contract is airtight protecting Bravo. However, her attorney may think he found a tiny loophole. I doubt she gets the full asking because Bravo has deep legal pockets. Right. I don't even think that they think they'll get the full asking. I don't. That's why for me, I'm strongly leaning towards settlement versus just getting $20 million. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, I really encourage y'all, and I did cover it. I can't remember if I covered it on trending at some point or legal at some point. I think it's on this side. I think it was when we were talking about Carlos King and everybody. And I used the Netflix lawsuit to show how Melody Cherie could have a lawsuit against possibly Kingdom Reign Entertainment. And I also, again, just think that they're breaking ground for people that show up on reality TV to have better protection. And we'll see. We'll see. This is a long road. It's not a short road. And Brit is just one of the paths in this very long, long road. Okay, so what else did Don want to say? Independent contractor we talked about. I do believe that they're independent contractors. Um, Let me see. I do agree that Brit and everyone else gave up certain rights to be on the show. They both were hostile in some ways. I'm not weighing out who was more hostile. If she actually had a pow pow on her, I'm gonna say she was more hostile. I am. But yes, I agree with the hostile. Um, let's see. I guess I wrote that twice. I was really talking about that hostile work environment. So, in her lawsuit, there's a couple things that came up. Defamation probably won't make it. Emotional distress probably won't make it. This is just all opinion, my opinion. Hostile work environment, both sides might have it, but for now, she's the one with the lawsuit open. Gross negligence, this is where we're coming back to. Gross negligence is a very strong path for me with leading to a settlement. And I'm going to get into that more when we talk about this indemnification that was brought up. Also, sexual harassment, very strong in this one, in my opinion. And then they put in the phrase violation of New York State human rights law. That's my trifecta for me on why there could at least be a settlement. Gross negligence, sexual harassment, and violation of New York State human rights law. They also have false light, and false light is different from defamation, but it also, depending on how it's interpreted by the court, that still could be a bad edit type false light. So I put that under light work, probably won't make it, in my opinion. So what we're let me see here. Hold on. I wrote so many notes. They're everywhere. Okay. Most reality TV contracts do include indemnity clauses, but that doesn't mean that clause just covers everything and protects the production company from everything. And I do believe Don Juan is right about what's in the contract, but I just think he might be wrong about what holds up in court from the contract, like a catch-all wrong. He's right. He's made some points, and I'm like, yep, that one might not hold up. That one might not hold up. But just the umbrella of it's not going to hold up. That's the part I disagree with. Many reality TV contracts have indemnity clauses. Those are basically legal premises that the cast member won't sue the production company over certain things, or that they'll cover certain legal costs. But here's the catch. Indemnity clauses don't give Bravo, Truly Original, a free pass for everything, especially not serious accusations like sexual harassment, possibly hostile work environment, or gross negligence. The reason is courts treat these issues very differently. An indemnity clause might protect a company from minor disputes over how they were edited on the show. So like edited to be the villain type edits. You look like you were possibly saying a response to this person, but that was 2 weeks ago and you were responding to a different person. But you cannot contract your way out of the law. If Bravo or anyone under their umbrella engaged in harassment or created a toxic and unsafe workplace, an indemnity clause doesn't automatically shield them. Courts often refuse to enforce indemnity clauses when they're being used to dodge accountability for serious misconduct. You can't legally require someone to waive their right to be protected from sexual harassment. That would go against public policy. And there's a very specific thing with public policy, which I am going to go over. Let me see here. Okay, I have two things on this one because they kind of go together. So I'm going to start with, courts. It's generally true that courts refuse to enforce indemnity clauses when they are being used to dodge responsibility for illegal or dangerous behavior. And I'm focused on the illegal, dangerous behavior part. Let me see. It says courts often consider indemnity clauses that attempt to shield a party from the consequences of illegal actions, gross negligence, or willful misconduct to be against public policy and therefore unenforceable. The rationale is that allowing such clauses would undermine accountability and potentially incentivize harmful behavior. And I'll keep going because I have a point to make. I have some examples for y'all. So against public policy, it says courts generally hold that it's against public policy to allow individuals or entities to escape responsibility for actions that are illegal or harmful to others by simply shifting that responsibility to another party through an indemnity clause. The legal system aims to ensure that individuals and entities are held accountable for their actions. Allowing indemnity for illegal or dangerous behavior would weaken this system of accountability. Examples are fraud or criminal activity. Indemnity clauses that try to cover fraudulent or criminal conduct are often voided as a matter of public policy. Gross negligence or willful misconduct, and gross negligence and willful was presented in that lawsuit. And that's why I put my poll up about, if, for those of you that are interested in the topic, did you actually see what was written in the lawsuit? I did already go through the whole lawsuit, so I won't do that to y'all again on here, but I created a Brit Eady playlist if you want to see me go over that full document so you can actually see what's in there, because I've also heard some things going around about lost wages, lost wages, lost wages. I think she did want to go that route, which is why this is why I said she's dishonest. She was saying, like, at first it was affecting her license, but then was it Angela who actually busted out the date or whatever? Like, you already had that license was gone already. Her lawyer did not take that route. Her lawyer did not go lost wages. It was sexual harassment, gross negligence. It was something with willful. It was violation of New York State human rights. That's where her lawyer is going with it. And that's what I'm focused on, is that they didn't go the route of she lost business. It might be blanketed or hidden in there, but that's not what they're saying in the lawsuit. That's not. So even though she might have said that leading up to the point, that's not what her lawyer actually put black and white on paper. Also, active negligence. It says some jurisdictions like California require very explicit language in the indemnity clause to indicate that the party seeking indemnity for their own active negligence is included. I was looking at indemnity clauses. A lot of times that means that, like, say for instance, the court finds that there is some responsibility, and just so y'all know, the people being sued or entities being sued, we have Bravo, Truly Original, there's some others, and then Jane or John Doe 1 through 5, which means, and they're being sued jointly, severally, and individually. So that indemnity clause, if Bravo or Truly Original actually did have to settle, or was found they have to pay, they could shift that to possibly Kenya, who also signed a contract with an indemnity clause, because it allows them to shift those types of things to the other party, however the contract is written. So I think it's sounding like indemnity is being misunderstood as being immune to something versus where the responsibility may lie on something. I think that's where some things are getting, I'm not even gonna say misconstrued. I just think in this case, I don't think it's just cut and dry like that. Like, it's just, oh no, no responsibility to Truly Original, no responsibility to Bravo. Let me see. All right. It says indemnity clauses do not typically protect a company against claims of sexual harassment committed by its employees or agents, especially when the company is aware of the harassment and does nothing to stop it. Sexual harassment is a big part in her lawsuit. Indemnification versus immunity. Indemnification is an agreement where one party, the indemnifier, agrees to compensate another party, the indemnity, for certain losses or damages. It's about allocating financial risk, not granting immunity from legal responsibility. Companies can be held vicariously liable for the actions of their employees, including sexual harassment, even if they were not directly involved in the harassment itself. If this is an example, but if a manager commits sexual harassment, they are generally not acting within the scope of their employment. It says company knowledge and negligence. If a company is aware of sexual harassment and fails to take action to prevent or address it, they can be held liable. Intentional acts and willful conduct. Indemnity clauses generally do not cover intentional or willful acts such as sexual misconduct. And I do want to bring up her lawsuit real fast. I just want to show y'all some of the language used in there. I'm not gonna read the whole thing again, but I do want to I am a visuals type person. So okay, so this is some of the pages in her lawsuit, but I want to highlight defamation, which I said is, that's a weak one. Defamation is weak when you're on reality TV and your contract, because they are allowed to edit you just about any way they want to. But intentional infliction of emotional distress, also possibly a weak one. False light, possible. it's not exactly defamation, but it's still about being depicted and a right to privacy, which I think that you do probably sign something that gives up some of your right to privacy. So that was still kind of weak. But respondeat superior, that's a legal doctrine, and we went over the definition of respondeat superior in the other one. I'm not gonna do that to y'all again. But that's like holding the actual entity responsible, and even if it's because of their agents or employees, because they're acting within the scope of that company. Sexual harassment, that's my heavy hitter for her. Hostile work environment, possibly. The biggest heavy hitter is going to be violation of the New York State human rights law. And again, the burden of proof is on Brit Eady's lawyers. It's on Brit and her lawyers. The defense can be light if the proof is light. They hold the weight in having to prove any of this and how it falls under those categories. Let me see. I'm looking to see. Here's the other one I was telling y'all: willfully, intentionally, recklessly, and or with gross negligence republished certain of the cast member statements at issue. So that's where Bravo Truly Original comes in, but it's the republishing part. It's the airing of the episode part that she's going for. And I'm just going to address this again because I know it's going to come up. Yes, she is saying that it's falsely depicting her in those pictures, the ones that have the explicit pictures. I still believe Kenya does think it's her. I don't think Kenya went in and found false pictures and was just like, I'm just gonna say it's Brit. I think that either it is actually Brit or Kenya still thinks it's Brit either way. Like that part, she said she had a plan. She apologized. She already went on her apology tour for it. So she thought it was Brit. The people that were around in the salon thought it was Brit. The pictures would have been of a 18, 19-year-old Brit or someone that looks similar to her. So you're not going to see the exact face of the Brit we see today. So I do believe that the people that saw it also thought it was her, including Bravo, at least for a while. I don't know if they still don't think, or if they still think it's her, they don't think it's her now. But it is the fact that at the time, believing it was her, they still allowed the episode to air, the things to go, and then for her to be subjected to sexual harassment and stuff like that. That's more the point than it is if it is or isn't her face. It's the what happened with the belief that this is my face. And yes, she does have the past and she does have things that are out there. But a good attorney is going to focus on what can we sue for versus what may, I would say, and I'm sure if they go to trial, they'll address the fact that she does have that kind of past, but that's the way it was put out might be outside of what the Bravo is actually allowed to do. So that's going to be up to them to argue. But when they did the human rights law, I was like, okay, I see where y'all are going, and I see we're not doing this whole lost wages thing, which is, I thought that's what the lawsuit was going to be about. I did. Okay. But I wanted to point out that gross negligence and that the willfully part, recklessly part. Let me take this down. Okay. And then, let's see. Is there one more thing I wanted to say? I'm double checking myself. Okay. And I hate this too, because I hate when I get off of here, I'm going to say, oh, there's my other note I wanted to capture. 1 second, y'all. Okay. So my thing with what Don Juan was saying is that I'm not saying he's completely wrong. I'm just saying that it's rare that you can speak in absolutes when it comes to something legal. Like, I just feel like you have to be, but he's just giving his opinion like I'm just giving mine. But I don't think this is an absolute, nope, she is not going to have a leg to stand on when she has this lawsuit. I see a question in here about, is Kenya in the lawsuit? Okay, hold on. 1 second. Because actually, Kenya's technically in the lawsuit. This is me. This is what I'm going to explain myself. Hold on. Kenya's in the lawsuit here for me. Let me bring it back up. This is Brit Eady versus Truly Original, Bravo, NBC Universal, Endemol, Shine North America, and Jane John Doe 1 through 5. I believe Kenya is a Jane Doe of a 1 through 5. She's in the placeholder right now. She is not formally named, but I believe Kenya is technically in this lawsuit. That's my opinion. That could also be Jane and John Doe's 1 through 5 producers. But because this is a jointly, severally, individually that people can be held liable, I do believe Kenya is in this lawsuit. It just doesn't say Kenya Moore at this time. That's just what I believe though. Okay. All right. So hopefully I answered that question. Callie Steve said Bravo allows their talent to walk away from the contracts. I don't understand forcing her to continue to work under hostile conditions. That is a great point, because I also was looking up, what was it called? Unconscionability. And it almost sounded like they could have something under unconscionability when it comes to signing contracts. But then I was like, she's not in a compromising position where she can't walk away from the contract. So most likely, I don't think her attorney will argue unconscionability. But even if you can walk away, as you're walking away, damage is being done. And I think the attorney is suing for the damage that was done, because she technically has walked away because she's not going to the reunion and stuff like that. So we shall see. We shall see. D said, I hope Kenya doesn't get sued, but I don't care about Bravo. That's what they get for the bad hires they did this season. I hear you. Teresa said, I hope she doesn't get a dime. And I'll tell you what, I don't really hope she does get money. I just can't. My brain won't let me sit down on, oh, she doesn't have a lawsuit, period, because they signed a contract. Like that to me it's too black and white, and it's not. I just don't agree with that. Callie Steve said, I think there were several pictures of Brit at the event, but one of them was not. They did not allow her to see the picture that wasn't her for many reasons. Yes, because even if there was one picture that wasn't of her, it is a picture that was not of her. So I think that there were a few that were not of her, and there were some that were of her. Whether it be the innocent ones were of her, and then the explicit ones weren't, or there was a mixture of some that were explicit that were her and some that weren't. And I'm still wondering, what do they do about explicit photos? The closest I know was the Vanderpump Rules thing, and I mean they still able to film and everything, but they had the revenge plea against the girl that would call herself Raquel, but her name was really pronounced Rachel. So I don't know of other and I don't think they aired it though either. I think it was that fact that it was found out that the cast members sent it out to people, but I don't think that was like they aired it on the episode. But I hadn't been watching Vanderpump Rules in a while, so I'm not sure about that. It was more like I kind of heard it floating around. Let's see. I do believe Brit is faking at least her business. I saw some people breaking down her actual business, because the license isn't there, and she's more trying to teach other people and stuff like that. So I don't know about her husband's income, but I do believe her business was struggling. Teresa said, I believe Kenya's in the lawsuit too, but again, I hope she doesn't get a dime. I hope Kenya sues them. I'll be fine with Kenya suing Bravo if that's what she chooses. Rachel's lawsuit was a stronger case than Brit's. I'm about to look at her lawsuit. I'm not saying, okay, I could see how Raquel, Rachel, whatever, her lawsuit possibly is stronger than Brit's, but I still, for now, cannot concede that Brit doesn't have a somewhat solid lawsuit, especially if they lean on the human rights law violation, the sexual harassment part, and the gross negligence part. That's where I'm waiting to just see how it plays out. Because to me, the Netflix people had a very strong one, like the people that were going against Kinetic and Netflix and Love is Blind and all that stuff. They had a very strong one. I read somewhere they settled for like $1.4 million or something. It's a settlement. It's a low amount in the grand scheme of everybody that was affected, but it was a settlement. It wasn't, oh, this is just dismissed, we're throwing this out. And so I'm curious to see, will Brit's lawsuit result in a settlement? Or will it get thrown out? Will it go to trial? I want to know, but there's nowhere in my brain that it's just like, you signed a contract, you have no leg to stand on, that's it. Not when you start putting in stuff like that, like sexual harassment, human rights violations, stuff like that. I'm like, just because there's an indemnity clause in there, I just don't think. Oh, the other one was the moral. That was what Don Juan said. Don Juan said, you kind of waive your rights of the moral clauses. I agree with him on the moral part, but sexual harassment is not just a moral issue. Human rights is not just a moral issue. So that's where I'm like, I still feel like we got a leg to stand on, maybe a couple toes on that leg. Like I still feel like it's there. That's all I'm saying. So I'm here to see how far it goes, and it might not go super far, but I just don't think it's just so easy to. Hold on, can y'all still hear me? Let me make sure. What is this? Get that out of there. Okay. But yeah, I don't think it's just so. Oh, there's no. She doesn't have a case at all. Callie Steve said the fact that Brit's attorney has a strong CV makes me believe that she may have a case for settlement. Yes, I hope y'all do. Please, I linked it right at the top of my description. Please go look at his credentials. He is not. I just don't see him wasting his time if he doesn't at least feel like there is a strong chance for something to come out. Not with his background. He's over there doing securities. He's doing, I mean, it's very heavy in civil rights that he does. Very heavy on that part. I just don't see him touching this if there's not something. Callie Steve said, "I can't wait to see Bravo's response." Me too. Hopefully, if I can get access to it, I can look at it over here as well, because I'm very curious to see how Bravo responds. I feel like I know the gist of how they're going to respond is the same thing, and probably about kind of like where Don Juan said they're going to lean on. She signed a contract, independent contractor. We don't have employees; those are independent contractors. We cannot be held responsible. They know they're going to be depicted in not so favorable lights, stuff like that. That's where I feel like they're going to go. And then I'm like, okay, then what? Then what after that part? Because I already know they have that part down like boilerplate. Is gonna That's what's gonna happen. Plus they might have a little doozy to throw in there too. But he has again represented major companies and then represented whistleblowers against major companies. So we shall see. But that's just where I kind of disagree with Don Juan. It's just being spoken in like this absolute way of no, because you signed this contract, and it's just not that simple. Even if everybody else so far has not made a lot of leeway, it's just not that simple every time. Otherwise, there wouldn't be cases that set new precedents and everything else. Like things can change, and maybe the other people didn't have the right strategy. But I I have been, team twirl, and I remain team twirl. Only so much in a lightweight way because I'm not about to stress myself out over people like that. But this is just so weird to be talking about it on this side, and I like Kenya. I actually like Kenya. So all right, but hopefully, y'all enjoyed my little bit of an opinion on this one, and let me know what y'all think in the comments, and we'll see what comes up next. And y'all have a great night. All right, talk to you later. Bye.